Baby, your mates are buying cars, building houses, she said, her voice sharp and tired. You're still saying everything will be better soon. When? I'm tired of this rubbish. James paused, his hands frozen mid-type. He glanced at her, annoyance flickering across his face. Lizzie, I told you. These things take time. I'm working on something big. Once it clicks, we won't even remember this heat. Elizabeth crossed her arms. You've been working on something big for 3 years, James. 3 years. I'm still taking bike to work while Sandra's boyfriend just bought her a car. James sighed and shut his laptop. You think it's easy? You think money just falls from the sky? I'm trying. This is Yahoo work, not magic. She looked away, biting her lower lip to stop the tears. I just want a better life. For both of us. I can't keep living like this. I didn't sign up for empty promises. Silence fell between them, heavy and bitter. The only sound was the fan creaking above them. James stood up slowly and reached for her hand. Lizzie, just hold on. I swear, one more hit and we're out of this mess forever. She didn't pull her hand away, but her eyes were empty. I've heard that before, James. James couldn't sleep that night. Elizabeth had gone to bed early, turning her back to him without a word. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling, his mind racing. He reached over to the bedside table and picked up his phone. Messages blinked from Telegram and WhatsApp. His plug in Malaysia had replied. The white guy finally responded. His biting pushed the emotional angle harder. James smirked, sat up, and reached for his laptop. He opened the file he had been working on, a fabricated story about a widowed Nigerian man who had lost his wife in a fire and was struggling to take care of his twin daughters. He had already sent the man, a retired military officer named Richard from Minnesota, photos of random little girls and a fake hospital bill. Tonight, he was going to ask for $20,000, enough to change his life. As the blue light from the screen lit up the dark room, James whispered to himself, "This is it. This is the hit I've been waiting for." The next morning, Elizabeth was in the kitchen frying plantain when James came in, humming and whistling like a man who had won the lottery. "You seem happy today," she said without turning. James walked over and kissed her cheek. "I told you something big was coming. That thing I've been working on. It's almost ripe." Elizabeth dropped the spatula and turned to face him. "James, don't hype me again. I'm serious this time. If nothing changes before the end of this month, I'm leaving." He smiled, unfazed. "You won't need to. I'll have enough to buy us a car. Maybe even move to a new place." She searched his face, looking for a sign of truth. "You're not just saying this to keep me here?" "No," he said, holding her hands. "This is the one, Lizzie. Just a few more days." She nodded slowly, her heart torn between hope and disappointment. The next day, James was up early. Dressed in a clean white shirt and black jeans, he looked every bit like a young entrepreneur on the rise. He held his phone tightly as he scrolled through car listings online. Elizabeth sat at the edge of the bed, watching him. "You're really going to buy a car?" she asked, a hint of disbelief in her voice. "Not yet," James replied, his eyes still glued to the screen. "I don't want to spend this money carelessly. I'll keep it small. Maybe just upgrade a few things first. Change our furniture. Buy you a new phone." Elizabeth smiled faintly. "A new phone would be nice. Mine keeps freezing every time I open Instagram." James grinned. "Then that's done. We'll go to the mall later today. You deserve to feel good too." She walked over to him, wrapped her arms around his neck from behind. "I hope this life finally turns around for us, James. I'm tired of struggling." He reached up and held her hands. "It will. This is our time." By noon, they were at a popular electronics store. James paid in cash for a brand new iPhone for Elizabeth, and a pair of sneakers for himself. He even bought 2 cartons of groceries and some new bed sheets. Elizabeth was glowing. "This feels like a dream," she said as they got into a cab. "People were staring at me when I pulled out that phone. I felt like a queen." James smiled, but a strange unease tugged at his chest. For a moment, he wondered if it was guilt. But he brushed it off. Back at the apartment, he locked the door, opened his laptop again, and started typing another message to Richard. Brother, the girls are coughing badly now. I fear one of them might have pneumonia. The clinic needs $2,500. Please, help us if you can. Elizabeth walked into the room and paused at the door, watching him type. Are you really okay with all this, James? He didn't look up. This is survival, Lizzie. In this country, if you wait for honesty to pay, you'll die poor. She didn't respond. She just nodded slowly, turned, and walked back into the bedroom. It had been 2 weeks since the first payment, and James was on fire. Richard had sent another $2,500 just as James had planned. In total, he now had almost $8,000 sitting across different digital wallets and cash apps. He began talking about relocation. Babe, he said one morning, what do you think about Ghana? Or even Dubai? Let's leave this country once I hit 20,000. Elizabeth blinked. Dubai? With Yahoo money? James laughed. Who cares where the money comes from? People travel with less. And besides, I know someone there who can help clean the funds. Elizabeth hesitated. I don't know, James. This is all moving too fast. You're changing. James stood, annoyed. Changing? How? Because I want a better life for us. No, she said carefully, because you talk like nothing else matters anymore. Not even the risk. He opened his mouth to argue, but just then, his phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. You think you're smart? We're watching you. Be careful. His heart froze. He stared at the screen, unsure if it was a prank or something more serious. Elizabeth noticed the color drain from his face. What is it? She asked. James quickly locked his phone. Nothing. Just spam. But the lie didn't sit well with him. That night, he stayed up checking his system for viruses, clearing his search history, and deleting old conversations. He even moved some funds out of his main wallet into a safer crypto account. But the message haunted him. Who sent it? Was it a fellow scammer? The police? A victim? The next morning, he wore a fake smile and acted like everything was normal. But deep down, the first seeds of fear had been planted. And fear, he knew, could ruin everything. James couldn't concentrate. Every sound outside their apartment felt louder than usual, the slam of a car door, the bark of a stray dog, the distant whistle of the compound security guard. He sat at his desk, fingers hovering over the keyboard, unable to type. Elizabeth noticed the tension in his body. James, you haven't touched your food, she said quietly, placing a plate of jollof rice beside him. He forced a smile. I'm not hungry. She frowned. Are you still thinking about whatever was on that message? James turned slowly. I told you it was nothing. Maybe you told me, she replied, but your eyes are saying something else. He looked at her, trying to decide if he should confide in her. Then he sighed. Someone messaged me yesterday. A warning. Said they were watching me. Elizabeth's eyes widened. Watching you? Who? The police. I don't know, he admitted. It could be anyone. Could be another scammer. Or maybe Richard has gotten suspicious. James, she whispered, her voice trembling, what if this is getting too deep? Maybe it's time to stop. Stop, he scoffed. Now that I'm so close. Do you know what I can do with that kind of money? We could leave this place forever. Start over. Build something real. Elizabeth stood still for a long time. And what if you end up in jail? What if I lose you? James walked up to her and took her face gently in his hands. You won't lose me. I promise. I know what I'm doing. She didn't pull away, but she didn't lean in either. Sometimes the people who think they know what they're doing are the first to fall. James stared into her eyes, a chill running down his spine. For the first time, he couldn't tell whether she was warning him or predicting the future. The days that followed were oddly quiet. No more threatening messages. No suspicious calls. James allowed himself to believe the warning had been nothing more than an empty threat, perhaps a jealous fellow scammer trying to shake him. The relief gave him confidence. Too much of it. He went out that weekend and bought a brand new wristwatch, the kind he used to only see on celebrities. He also placed a deposit on a used Toyota Corolla from a local car dealer. The car wasn't flashy, but to James, it was a symbol of progress. That evening, as he drove the Corolla into the compound, Elizabeth came rushing out barefoot. "Oh my God," she gasped, beaming. "You actually bought a car?" James stepped out and leaned against the hood. "What did I tell you? I keep my promises." She hugged him tightly, laughing. "It's not even about the car, James. It's the fact that we're finally moving forward." They spent that night celebrating. Music played from the Bluetooth speaker, the lights were dim, and the aroma of peppered chicken filled the apartment. For once, everything felt perfect. But in the midst of that joy, James' laptop chimed with a new message. He ignored it at first, until curiosity dragged him back to the screen. It was from Richard. "I want to visit Nigeria and see the girls. I've talked to my lawyer. I'll be there in 2 weeks." James stared at the message, the blood draining from his face. Elizabeth noticed his sudden silence. "What is it?" He slowly turned to her. "Richard wants to come to Nigeria, to meet me. In person." She stood still, the smile fading from her face. "James, what are you going to do?" James didn't answer. Because for the first time since it all began, he realized he had gone too far. James paced back and forth in the small living room, phone in one hand, anxiety thick in his chest. Elizabeth sat quietly on the sofa, watching him unravel. "You have to tell him not to come," she said gently. "And say what?" James snapped, his voice rising. "That the daughters he's been sending money for don't exist. That I'm not a pastor. That it was all a scam." Elizabeth didn't flinch. "Lie again. Tell him you've traveled. Say there's a family emergency. Anything to buy more time." James rubbed his forehead, overwhelmed. "This was never supposed to get this far. I just wanted to collect and disappear. Now the man wants to fly here. What if he reports me to the embassy? What if he brings police?" She stood and walked toward him. "Then you stop. You end it. Before it gets worse." James looked at her, torn between fear and greed. "I'm so close, Lizzie. He's on the hook. He even told me he's preparing to sell one of his properties to send a final donation. That's the real hit. 20,000. Elizabeth's expression hardened. "At what cost, James? His trust. His future. Ours." The room fell silent, broken only by the soft hum of the ceiling fan. Then James' phone rang. He looked at the caller ID. "Richard, USA." His hands trembled. He stared at the screen like it was a bomb about to go off. Elizabeth whispered, "Don't answer." But James did. "Hello. Brother Richard," he said, forcing a calm tone. "Pastor Emmanuel," came the cheerful voice. "Blessings to you, brother. I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. I've already booked my flight for next Saturday." James swallowed hard. "Ah, that's wonderful news, but there's a complication." "Oh." My daughters are sick. Very sick. And we're being moved to a facility outside Lagos for special treatment. I might not be around when you arrive." Richard paused. "I see. That's unfortunate. I was hoping to see the girls, pray with them. But I understand. Let me know what you need. I'll send whatever it takes to make them better." James ended the call slowly, his heart pounding. Elizabeth stood behind him. "You just delayed the storm, James. It's still coming." And deep down, James knew she was right. The next morning, James was up early. He hadn't slept much, haunted by the sound of Richard's voice and the looming threat of exposure. He sat at his desk staring at his laptop, typing slowly. "Brother Richard, the hospital bill is heavy. We need a total of $18,500 for the special treatment and medication for the girls. I'm so ashamed to ask, but without this, I may lose both children." He read the message twice before hitting send. He turned to Elizabeth, who had been watching him quietly from the bed. "You're really going through with it?" she asked. James nodded. "This is it. One last hit. If he sends it, we leave this place and never look back." Elizabeth's eyes were filled with uncertainty. "And if he doesn't?" James didn't answer. He couldn't. The silence that followed said enough. By afternoon, Richard replied, "It breaks my heart to see you suffer like this. I'll sell the cabin. It might take a few days, but I'll get the money to you. Just hang on." James exhaled slowly, a mix of relief and guilt washing over him. He's going to do it. Elizabeth looked away. "James, do you feel anything at all? About what you're doing to that man?" James hesitated. "I try not to. If I think too much, I'll lose focus. This is a cruel world, Lizzie. Nobody helps you unless you make them. But this man helped you. Out of love. Out of faith." James didn't respond. He shut the laptop and lay on the couch, trying to quiet the war in his heart. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the weight of his deception grew heavier. He thought about Richard. A good man. An honest man. A man about to lose everything because of him. James stood before the priest, sweat dripping down his back despite the morning chill. The forest was deathly quiet, the air thick with the smell of blood, fire, and something else, something darker. Elizabeth stood beside him, arms folded, her face unreadable. She had brought him here, but now that they were inside the shrine, she kept her distance. The priest's eyes pierced through James like he could see into his soul. "You seek quick wealth," the priest said again, voice low and ancient. "Not through labor, not through the work of your hands. You want what others have, fast." James nodded. "Yes, Baba. I want it. I'm ready." The priest walked slowly around him, barefoot, his feet silent on the dirt floor. "Do you understand that money does not come freely from the spirits? There is always a price. Something must go." James's heart pounded. What kind of price?" The priest's grin was unsettling. "You don't ask the gods questions. You only say yes, or walk away as a poor man." James turned to Elizabeth. She didn't speak, just stared at him coldly. Her voice echoed in his head, "Your mates are buying houses, cars, traveling abroad." He turned back to the priest and nodded. "I accept. Whatever the price is. I want the money. I want it fast." The priest raised his arms and laughed, a deep, hollow laugh that echoed through the trees. "So be it," he said. He pointed to a large wooden bowl in the center of the shrine. "You will return in 3 days, at midnight. The offering will be revealed then." James's voice cracked. "What kind of offering?" The priest didn't answer. He simply said, "Whether it is woman, animal, or even blood from your own, you must not question it. If you refuse when the time comes, you will lose more than money." James swallowed hard, but nodded. As they left the forest, Elizabeth was quiet. James finally asked, "Do you think I did the right thing?" She replied without looking at him, "You did what every man who wants to be rich must do, cross a line." James looked up at the sky. He didn't realize that the line he crossed could never be uncrossed. He returned to the shrine, just as the priest had instructed, 3 days later, at midnight. The moon glowed faintly above the forest canopy, casting ghostly shadows across the path. Elizabeth remained in the village lodge, refusing to follow him this time. "Whatever they ask for, think well," she had said quietly. "Not every sacrifice is worth the price." James pushed open the wooden door of the shrine. The flames in the clay lamps flickered as if they recognized him. The priest was already waiting. "You have come," he said without turning. James swallowed. "Yes. I came to pay the price." The priest reached into a clay pot and brought out a blackened gourd. He sprinkled white powder in a circle around James, chanting in a language James couldn't understand. The room trembled slightly as the chants grew louder. Then, silence. The priest turned to him and said clearly, "You will sacrifice blood. Not of a stranger. Not of an animal." James's heart skipped. The priest stepped closer, his eyes glowing like fire. "You will bring the one you love most, from your bloodline." James froze. "What do you mean?" "A sibling," the priest whispered. "One of your own. Not by marriage. Not by adoption. Blood of your blood." James stumbled backward. No, I can't do that." The priest's voice turned thunderous. "You said you were ready. The spirits heard you. If you walk away now, Everything you own will turn to ashes. Your dreams will rot. Your name will carry death. James's legs trembled beneath him. His thoughts raced to his younger brother, Daniel. Bright-eyed, 20 years old, studying medicine at Unilag. They used to share everything growing up. James even paid his school fees with part of his Yahoo earnings. Daniel was the one he loved most. The only one who ever believed in him. James collapsed to his knees. Please, anything else. Take me. Take Elizabeth. Take anyone but. The priest raised a hand. You do not choose the price. You only choose to pay, or to perish. The fire crackled behind them. And James began to weep for the first time in years. Because for the first time, he saw exactly what the price of greed truly looked like. James rose slowly from the floor, wiping his tears with the back of his hand. His face had changed. Whatever softness was there moments ago had hardened into stone. His eyes no longer trembled. They burned. The priest waited, silent, watching him closely. Then James spoke, his voice calm but cold. I'll use my girlfriend. The priest raised an eyebrow. That is not your sibling. I know, James replied quickly. But she's the one who pushed me into this. I never wanted to come here. I was managing what I had. I was patient. But every day, she reminded me I wasn't enough. That other men were better than me. His hands curled into fists. She poisoned my mind, made me desperate. If not for her, I wouldn't even know this place existed. So Barbara, I'm using her. Let her be the one. The priest stared at James for a long moment, then slowly nodded. You have spoken with boldness. And that is what the spirits respect. He moved toward the altar and threw a pinch of powder into the flame. The fire roared suddenly, rising high into the air, then fell into a calm whisper again. The gods have accepted your substitution, the priest announced. But know this, once chosen, there is no reversal. Her blood must spill within 7 days. If not, the curse shall return, and this time, it will devour you. James nodded. Give me the instructions, he said flatly. The priest smiled faintly, revealing yellowed teeth. She must not die by poison or accident. It must be by your hands. The spirits want it clean, personal, painful. The blood must be warm when it touches the earth. James nodded again, as if agreeing to sign a document. Then he turned and left the shrine, walking into the darkness of the forest with quiet steps, no hesitation, no second thoughts. Far behind him, in the quiet village lodge, Elizabeth waited peacefully, still believing she and James were on the path to wealth together. She had no idea she had just been traded for gold.